analytical observers like analysts, and they tend to look at technology companies and deliver pronouncements about them. And some of them will be positive about a company and some will be negative about a company. It's possible in looking at the general activities of Microsoft, one of those analysts formed a certain conclusion about Netscape and published that conclusion, and that might have had an effect. And so you could say that analysts may have had an effect. And analysts look at what Microsoft does, primarily in the products, not as much what we say as what we do in shipping our products.
What I'm asking you about, of course, right now is the effect of what you were saying, or what was attributed to you. And I do want to come to the effect that your products had on Netscape as well. But right now I want to talk about the effect of what was attributed to you. And what I'm asking you is whether you believe that the publication of statements like this attributed to you adversely affected Netscape's business prospects.
I'm not aware of any specific effect. And my general experience is that when competitors have made statements about us, that doesn't have an effect, rather that the people who do analysis or the actual products get shipped are what cause effects on our business.
Do you think that the effect on Microsoft's business of competitors saying things about Microsoft is comparable to the effect on Netscape's business of Microsoft saying things like this about Netscape?
Are we now talking about what was published or what was said?
Well, we're talking about what was published here.
Okay, well then
Mr.
stick to
Mays.
that.
That's what I am, sir, because I understand that your testimony is that you just don't remember saying any of these quotations that these publications have attributed to you. That's why I'm asking about what is written here, because there's no doubt, you have no doubt that this was actually published, do you, sir?
I believe it was published.
Okay, so at least we know that the Financial Times published, quote, "Our business model works even if all internet software is free," close quote, says Mr. Gates. Quote, "We are still selling operating systems. What does Netscape's business model look like if that happens? Not very good," close quote. Now, I asked you whether you thought that the publication of that adversely affected Netscape's business prospects. And you then gave me an answer that talked about the effect on Microsoft of criticism of Microsoft. Do you recall that?
Well, that wasn't at all that I said. We can read back what I said.
If you'd like to have it read back, it's okay with me. I don't need to have it read back, but if I've got as much time as I need to finish the examination, sir. And I'm prepared to spend as many days here as I have to do that. I think the record is quite clear as to what your answer was, and I think it is quite clear that you kept going back to Microsoft's experience, and that's the only point I'm trying to get you to focus on. Do you recall that enough to answer the question, or do we need to go back? Either way is okay with me.
Go ahead and ask a question, and then I'll decide.
Okay. Do you think, because you're the one that brought up the effect on Microsoft of criticism, do you think the effect on Microsoft of criticism of it is comparable to the effect on Netscape of the publication of statements attributed to you, like, quote, our business model works even if all internet software is free, close quote, says Mr. Gates. Quote, we are still selling operating systems. What does Netscape's business model look like if that happens? Not very good, close quote.
So you're supposing a case where I personally criticize Microsoft?
I'm not supposing anything at all, sir.
That's what you suggested.
No, sir. Let me try to be clear, and perhaps I'm not being clear.
Who's doing the criticism in your hypothetical?
Well, I think the only person that has mentioned the word criticism today is you. That I think it came out of your answer when you were talking about criticism of Microsoft. Now, if I've misremembered your testimony about that, I will stand corrected by the record. But my recollection is that I asked you whether you thought the publication of statements like this would adversely affect Netscape's business prospects. My recollection is that you gave me an answer, a substantial portion of which included a statement that it had been your experience that criticism of Microsoft didn't really affect your business.
No, I didn't say that. I said statements by competitors, whether critical or otherwise, I didn't think explained what happened to our business, but rather other factors could explain what happened to our business.
Okay. Let me use statements. And if I misremembered the word criticism, I apologize. Do you think that the effect on Microsoft's business of statements about Microsoft by its competitors is comparable to the effect on Netscape's business of the publication of statements like, quote, our business model works even if all internet software is free, close quote, says Mr. Gates. Quote, we are still selling operating systems. What does Netscape's business model look like if that happens? Not very good, close quote.
If you read that one more time, that's 7.
I wish this question had been answered simply. I think it could have been.
I gave you a very simple answer, but I was not aware of any effect on their business by the publication.
And that may have answered my question, sir. But because I know that you're a person that uses words very precisely, I need to be sure that we haven't missed something between the question and the answer. My question was whether you believed that this publication affected Netscape's business prospects. You said you didn't know of any effect, and I just want to be sure that your answer was meant to apply to the full breadth of my question.
The full breadth of your question?
Yes, sir. And if that's confusing to you, as I say, I will put the question as many times as I need to be sure that I get it clear to you. My question, and unfortunately I'm going to have to quote it again.
There's no need. There's really no need.
But my question, sir, is whether you believe that the publication of statements like the statement in the Financial Times that, quote, "our business model works even if all internet software is free," close quote, says Mr. Gates. Quote, "we are still selling operating systems. What does Netscape's business model look like if that happens? Not very good," close quote. Adversely affects Netscape's business prospects.
I told you I'm not aware of any effects on Netscape by the publication of that statement.
Have you finished your answer?
Yes?
Do you believe that the publication of that statement adversely affects Netscape's business prospects, whether you are aware of precisely what those effects are or not?
Well, I'm not absolutely sure, but I did explain to you that in the analogous situation, the effect is not come from that, but from other factors.
And what is the analogous situation that you refer to?
Statements by competitors about Microsoft.
And do you believe that statements by competitors about Microsoft are analogous in terms of their effect on Microsoft to statements like this about Netscape?
I'm not absolutely sure what you mean by like this, but in general, yes.
By like this, I mean the quotation in the Financial Times article.
I don't know what it means to be like that.
Is that because you don't understand the word like, or because you don't understand what it means to be like something?
Neither.
What is it then?
I stated in quite a broad way that statements by competitors about us have not been a factor to explain future developments in our business prospect, but rather other factors explain any changes in our business prospects. And I'll say that broadly about competitive statements by competitors.
Statements by competitors about Microsoft?
That's right.
Now what I'm asking about is not statements about Microsoft by competitors, but I'm asking about statements about Netscape. And the question that I had most recently asked, that I thought was simpler than it's turning out to be, is whether you believed that statements about Microsoft by its competitors would have an analogous effect on Microsoft to statements like the one published in the Financial Times in 1996, in June, that we've been looking at.
Object to the question. It's just hopelessly vague and ambiguous.
Okay.
Referring to other kinds of statements.
Okay, I'll go back. I was trying to avoid quoting the darn thing again, but if
the
I
other
have to
side.
be precise, I'll be precise.
Mr. Boyce,
okay?
it's the other side of the quote. It's
Okay.
other kinds of quotes about other companies.
Okay, let me try to put it as precisely as I can.
Before you do the recitation, I'd just like to say that we're ready for a break. when you come to a logical stopping point. I'm not sure there'll be a logical stopping point anytime soon, since
Right.
it's been 2 hours on this point.
I don't know if we've done 2 hours, since
Only
I
about
just,
an hour.
I just started 50 minutes ago.
No, but I'm including the Mr. Hauk's segment.
Let me see if I can bring it to a close, because I don't think this should be as difficult as it appears to have become. And let me see if I can identify what I think we're in agreement on. This statement was published in the Financial Times, correct?
I think it was.
You have said that statements that have been published about Microsoft by its competitors do not, in your view, adversely affect Microsoft's business, correct?
Yeah, I said that other factors like what happens with products or other observers less directly involved, in my view, explain whatever change in our business prospects happen.
Now, my question is whether you believe that that is true for Netscape as well. That is, that statements about Netscape by its competitors, including Microsoft, do not affect Netscape's business prospects. Or to
Well, I think it's pretty hard. You know, you don't have a world where you can say, hold everything else the same, the analyst comments, what happens with products, and just take out one thing. So your whole notion here that I'm supposed to ascribe to you certain cause and effect relationships is really quite absurd.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mr. Gates. Do you have any doubt that the publication of this statement attributed to you in the Financial Times adversely affected Netscape's business prospects?
In the world I live in, people look to unbiased observers to judge things about products and financial prospects and things of that nature. But we're not going to be able to run the experiment of keeping everything the same and having the world with some statement and the world without some statement and determine the ultimate cause and effect.
Would you read the question back, please?
Mr. Gates, do you have any doubt that the publication of this statement attributed to you in the Financial Times adversely affected Netscape's business prospects?
May I have an answer to that question, please, sir?
I've told you before, I'm not aware of any effect on Netscape's business prospects by that statement.
My question right now is whether you have any doubt that there were such effects. That is, do you have any doubt that, regardless of whether you can identify them as you sit here now and tell me what they are, do you have any doubt that you're being said to have said these words hurt Netscape's business prospects?
I think, although we can't run the experiment, that if you held everything else the same, that is the comments of analysts, the quality of the products, all those things going on, and didn't have that comment published, that their business prospects would have been the same. That's my belief, but we don't get to run that experiment.
Do you believe that the publication of statements like this by you, or statements like this attributed to you, affected what analysts wrote about Netscape?
Analysts do their own thinking and come to their own conclusions. They might look at statements in order to consider various hypotheses, but they're particularly good at ignoring statements made about one company who's competing with another company.
Does that mean that it's your testimony that you believe that analysts analyzing Netscape would have ignored this statement attributed to you?
No, I didn't say that. I said it might get them to consider. I said the opposite, in fact. I said it might get to consider certain hypotheses, but they would do their own thinking and come to their own conclusions based on factors completely independent of that. You know, they're in the business of talking about objective analysis.
Is one of the objective analysis that they're in the prospect or business of doing is figuring out what the effect on Netscape is going to be of certain actions that Microsoft takes?
A financial analyst who's assigned to Netscape would have that as one of the things they would do.
And did you, in 1996, make a conscious effort to try to affect what financial analysts analyzing Netscape did and thought?
I personally didn't, no.
Did Microsoft?
Well, Microsoft, I'm sure, made analysts aware of what we were doing with our products, including the innovative work we were doing, and I'm sure that had an effect.
Did you or others at Microsoft, to your knowledge, do things with the purpose of affecting what analysts analyzing Netscape wrote or thought?
Well, our primary focus is going out and talking about our products and what they do for customers. If the customer or the analyst asks us a question about Netscape or asks for a comparison, it's not unusual to give them an answer.
Did you, or to your knowledge, others at Microsoft do things for the purpose of affecting what analysts analyzing Netscape wrote or thought?
We certainly let people know about the good work we were doing. The primary purpose of that wasn't to affect Netscape, but certainly one of its effects would have been to affect how they viewed the competition between Microsoft and Netscape.
In addition to talking about your good works, was one of the purposes of talking about giving away Internet software for free to affect the way analysts looked at Netscape?
Well, I doubt you can ascribe too much effect to purely to the talking about it.
I would certainly agree that the fact that you did it and talked about it was a lot more effective than just talking about it. But right now, I am focusing on the talking about it.
Well, it's again one of these experiments we can't run where you say, what if we refused to answer all questions about Netscape, but we did what we did? My view is that the work and the products and everything, that the talking is not the key element in how our business prospects or other people's evolve.
Now, you knew that giving it away for free was going to adversely affect Netscape's business,
Objection.
didn't you?
Objection.
Well, what are you talking about? Have you got some antecedent to the word it?
Is the question unclear to you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You've never defined what you're talking about.
Okay. If the question is unclear to you, I think that's an answer that I would just as soon have the record have. But
Which it does.
I need to have it.
Is this a logical stopping point?
As soon as
I
I
objected on that basis, he objected on that basis, so
Okay.
it was crystal clear that the question was unclear because the word "it" was not defined.
I think what it is pretty well defined in this litigation. I think the witness knows perfectly well what it is. But
No, I would not let
we'll
a
make it-
witness
we'll make
answer
it
that
clear.
question under any circumstances.
Do you think, Mr. Gates, that Microsoft's giving away of its Internet Explorer browser for free adversely affected Netscape's business?
Objection, lack of foundation.
There, as I said earlier, we don't give away all the aspects of the browser. We do let Windows users have the browsing functionality as part of Windows, but we derive significant revenue from things like the search button and the home page.
Have you told people that Microsoft was going to give the browser away for free and that indeed it would be forever free?
I said that it would be a feature of Windows and available to people who used Windows. In that sense, yes.
Well, you may have said that, but what I'm now asking you about is whether you also said that Microsoft was going to give the browser away for free and that it would be forever free. Did you say that, sir?
When I was talking about Windows and the future of Windows, I did say that was one of the features that would come in Windows at no extra charge, and that it wouldn't become an extra charge feature.
You may very well have said that, and I accept that you said that. But my question to you, sir, is whether you said that Microsoft was going to give the browser away for free and it would be forever free. Did you say that, sir?
Asked and answered.
Now, I don't know what distinction you're drawing.
I'm talking about the statement.
The word "the browser," when I talked about it being free and forever free, was talking about the browser functionality of Windows.
But when you talked about it, you used the word browser, not browser functionality. Correct, sir?
I don't remember the exact words. It's very possible I used that shorthand.
And you talked about the browser being forever free. Did you not, sir?
Are you asking me about exact words? Or
Yes,
are you
I'm
asking
asking
me
you
to
about the
explain what I
exact
said?
words. I'm asking about the exact words. Did you say the exact words that the browser was going to be forever free?
If you're asking me about exact words, I don't recall the exact words that were used.
Is it your testimony that you do not, as you sit here now, recall saying that the browser would be forever free?
Those exact words?
Those exact words.
I'd want to see the context and be reminded about that. I don't remember using those exact words.
Do you remember using the words forever free? Those exact words.
Those two words?
Yes.
I'm sure I used those before I was 5 years old.
Really? With respect to what?
Forever free. I want to be forever free.
Okay. Did you ever use those with respect to the browser?
If you're asking, is there a sentence that if you did string search would have exactly those words in it, I'm not sure. I
Okay.
did say that we would keep, I did deliver that intent, that is that the browsing functionality in Windows was not something that we intended it at some time in the future to charge extra for.
And what you're telling me is you don't remember whether you just used the words forever free. That's what you're
I
saying.
may have.
You may
The
have.
general notion of the Windows browser functionality staying free in the future was certainly communicated by me.
Okay.
Let's take a break here.
Time is 4:07. We are going off the record. This is the end of tape 3 of the videotape deposition of Bill Gates.